Hello, stitching friends. I'm Amy. I'm the Globetrotting Stitcher. I'm here with Gary, also a Globetrotting Stitcher. And we're happy to be back with you. Apologies that we've had another long break, but life is just lifing and it's been busy and I've been traveling. And so we're just going to get to you as often as we can. And we appreciate your patience between videos. So we hope that you've all been well. We hope that you've been enjoying your stitching. If you are finding us for the first time, welcome. We hope that you enjoy all the projects that we're working on. This is a channel about cross stitch. And so what we will be doing is showing you all the projects, the projects we've been working on over the last several weeks and what we've gotten accomplished. We'll also do a little bit of a life update, and I'll be sharing about my recent travels when we get to the end of the video. So we'll start off with a really quick life update. Not a whole lot to share other than to say it's been busy, but I did want to update everyone who watched our last video where we shared that one of our 3 dogs, Sophie, was getting ready to go in to have surgery to have a mammary mass removed and tested. So it ended up being a little bit more of an adventure, we'll say, than we expected. So she was scheduled to have surgery 2 days before I was scheduled to leave for Senegal on a business trip. And I took her in that morning for surgery, and the doctor called me about an hour and a half later to say, hey, we were going through her final check pre-surgery just to make sure everything was good to go. And when we listened to her heart, it sounded like we're hearing a slight heart murmur. And so she said, it's up to you. We can proceed with the surgery, but what we would recommend is that we postpone the surgery and have an EKG done, because if she does have a heart murmur, then, there's a different protocol to make sure that it's a safer surgery for her. And it was a little bit of a kind of a tough call for a minute there, simply because the doctor also, we had just come through a really hot stretch. And so the doctor said, it's also possible that she's just dehydrated, but there's a risk factor because we don't know. So she's like, we'll leave it up to you, but here's my recommendation. Well, we're safety people. So we decided to postpone the surgery and have an EKG done, which meant that both the surgery and the EKG had to happen when I was halfway around the world in Senegal, which, believe me, I was not happy about not being here for that, even though I knew she was in good hands with Gary. So to try and make a long story short, she did go and she had her EKG, and the news was as good as it could be under the circumstances. I think the short story is she has developed a slight heart murmur. The doctor said, the kind of murmur that it is very common for dogs as they age. She said it is not environmentally related at all. It's not anything you've done. It's not her diet. It's genetic. And a lot of dogs develop this when they get older. And she said it's very mild. There's no treatment. There's nothing we can do. And it will just get worse over time. But she said it's mild enough that given her age, we wouldn't expect it to impact her life expectancy. And if at some point it progresses to the stage where it starts to enlarge her heart, we do have medications to manage that for her. So it wasn't great news, but it wasn't the worst possible news. And it did give us clarity to go ahead and have a special protocol for her for surgery. So, she will need to have semi-regular testing to kind of just keep, to monitor how and if that murmur is getting worse. And but other than that, she can live a normal life up to and until she starts to, develop more severe symptoms. So I've adjusted to it now. I was pretty emotional when I first read the report. But then a few days later, once we had the answers there, she did go in and she had her surgery. And then there was a little bit more drama on surgery day. So they were getting ready to place her IV for surgery. And in the leg where they were getting ready to place the IV, they discovered another mass. And so they very quickly called us and said, hey, we found another mass right where we were going to put the IV in. Would you like us to go ahead and take that and have it tested as well? And so we did opt, spur of the moment, let's go ahead, since you're going to be in there, she's going to be under, let's take both of the masses and get them sent off for testing. So the great news is that once all of that her surgery went really well, and she's now fully healed up and out of the cone of shame. But the even better news is that the tests for both masses came back benign, and so we'll continue to monitor her for new masses since she seems inclined to develop them. But we are very thankful to say that she does not have cancer, and so she's feeling good, she's feeling perky, she's playful, she's happy, and that is all we can ask for our girl. So we wanted to just share that with all of you, and thanks so many of you for your prayers and your good thoughts for Sophie. She's one of our sweet, lovely babies, and so we are very relieved to have had good news coming out of her surgery. So as I mentioned, I did go to Senegal. We'll talk about that at the end of the video for those that are only interested in the cross stitch. And with that, we will get right into the stitching because we have a lot of things to show you today because we have had a fairly long gap between videos. So I did manage to fully finish one object that has been waiting in the wings for a couple months now. It's one of my finishes from earlier this year. And so that is Gather Here by Hello from Liz Matthews. This is one I really wanted to get fully finished as soon as possible because I stitched it with the intention of displaying it with my fall decor. And so I found the time to make it happen. So this project I stitched on a piece of 32 count pecan Wexford linen by Silk Weaver. It is a monochromatic design that I stitched with NPI silk in the number 568, which is a beautiful kind of, what's the color? It's like an indigo kind of blue, but it's a cross between indigo and navy. You'll see. Anyway, so here's how this turned out. I'm so pleased with it. I like the simplicity of the frame with this kind of bead border. The words are not there, but you guys can see what it is. Anyway, I'm really pleased with how this turned out. It looks really lovely. Our dining room, the kind of the color scheme for autumn is a blend of traditional autumn colors with nice pops of dark blue. And so this fits in really beautifully with the other fall items that I have hanging on the wall in the dining room. And so it's been a great addition, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. I think it looks really nice in this frame, and so it's nice to have another piece that is ready to display for autumn. So that is my Gather Here by Hello from Liz Matthews. All right. I also had a finish of one of my travel stitches. So on my way home from Dakar, I finished the travel project I've been working on. It is one of the designs from the Lila's Studio Noël en Rouge chart. And I've been stitching various sweaters from the kind of ugly Christmas sweater charts that she has. And this was the polar bear sweater. I stitched it on a piece of 36 count Mocha Edinburgh linen by Zweigart and used the called for DMC flosses. And so, actually, I should tell you, the last time you saw this, it was a brand new start. As I said, I have been stitching various sweaters from her various charts as Christmas gifts. And so the only modification I've been making to those is adding the names of family members that they are intended for as Christmas gifts. I'm going to be turning them into ornaments. And so here is the polar bear sweater from Noël en Rouge and all finished up. So this one was really fun to stitch. I love the variety of colors in it. The polar bears are super cute. And this one will be for my niece Cameron. I'm a little nervous about the finishing on these just because it's a non-traditional shape, so it's not a square. And I've never finished anything that's not a square before, but we'll figure it out. So I've got one more to stitch that, that I do have a brand new start on, but we'll show you that later in the video. At any rate, this is my finished version of the Noël en Rouge polar bears sweater, and really pleased with how it turned out. I think it's very cute, and I think Cameron is going to really enjoy having this as a Christmas ornament. Okay. This over here for later. All right. The next project I'm going to show you is quite possibly the most popular project on this channel, and it is my full coverage stitch. So we are now moving into whips, I should say. So I have been working on Rose Trellis In, and those of you who are regular viewers of this channel know that I have been working particularly hard on this year to push it to the finish line, and I'm on track to have it not fully finished, that'd be nice, but to have all the stitching finished by the end of the year. So this is a chart by Heaven and Earth Designs. The artwork is by Randall Spangler, and I am stitching it on a piece of 28 count white Lugana 2/1 using a combination of half stitch and continental stitch. So the last time you saw this, I'd had a pretty amazing run of stitching on it, or a pretty amazing rotation where I'd finished over 4,000 stitches. And I had finished the garden that's at the bottom left of the design. I was also completely finished with the bottom left corner of the design. And I had fully stitched in about halfway across the pathway that comes down from the front door of the inn. So if you aren't sitting down, you might want to do that, because this was another really fantastic week of stitching that I put into this. So here's where it is right now. Let me move my needle minder down so you can see better. All right, so here's where we are right now. I thought the little over 4,000 stitches that I got in my last rotation was impressive. Well, by some miracle, I managed to get 4,400 stitches in on this on the last rotation in 1 week. That is absolutely a record for me. I could not believe it. It was just, granted, it was a lot of stitching in, I mean, it was all the stitching in here. So it was almost no confetti. It was much closer to block stitching, which is of course a lot faster. But in terms of kind of some concrete milestones that I passed, I had another page finish. So I have now completed, I finished page 32. So 32 pages down, 4 pages to go. I finished another 3 colors. So I've now completely finished 9 colors in the design, leaving me with 83 colors to finish, which again is wild to me that there's 83 different colors left to stitch in this section. Let's see what else. I'm at 95.5% complete. And another big milestone is that this now has less than 10,000 stitches to the finish, which is wild to me. It's like, wow. So really, really, really making good progress on this. So obviously the big change here is that this pathway is now basically fully finished. The road that runs in front has now been carried over. We're roughly at the midway point in this final row of pages, and did start actually moving in a little bit up here now to some of the grass and flowers, like this little flower border on the edge of the pathway. And really kind of started getting into that. So I do expect the pace to slow down as this comes out through the end of the year, because it's not all just pathway and roadway. So there will be a little bit more confetti to deal with, but it's still a fair bit of solid stitching. And so, yeah, this one, I'm just absolutely thrilled with where it is right now. I'm absolutely thrilled with how close I am to the finish. And I'm actually at this point ahead of my pace in terms of getting it done by the end of the year. So that's where I am on Rose Trellis In, and I think it's just looking beautiful. All right. it is also getting to be very heavy and very tapestry-like in terms of just the density and the weight of the fabric. It's got a very different feel than my other projects. All right. If I had amazing banner progress on that stitch, this next stitch was the exact opposite. So next project I'm going to show you is my seasonal stitch. I am working on Spring Delivery by Scattered Seed Samplers, and I am stitching this project on a piece of 40 count Celestine linen by Fiber on a Whim. The last time you saw this, it was a brand new start, and I'd put in a few of the quilt stars that are kind of scattered around the top. I had outlined the rabbit fully and had started filling him in, and then had a few other little elements in it. So here's where he is right now. This one, as you can see, did not get a whole lot of progress. So I did manage to finish or put in more stitches on the little chicks that are in his basket. I did a reasonable amount of fill in on him, and then also put in, I think I can't remember whether this quilt star was done or not. I think maybe that was done last time, but I put in a number up here. So the reason why this one has got so little progress was I worked on this, I started on this rotation the week that I was heading off to Senegal. And because I headed off to Senegal after only 2 days of that rotation, and this was not going with me, it literally just got 2 days of stitching before I went on travel. So it did not get a full rotation. If it had, I would have actually finished it because there's not a ton of stitches in this design. So, not impressive progress, but progress is progress. And it's in a really good position to be a finish the next time it comes up in rotation. So I'm really enjoying it. This is a sweet piece, and I'm looking forward to stitching the companion project the next time that this comes up in rotation as well. So that is my Spring Delivery. So with that, I'm gonna give Gary a chance to talk about what he's been working on.
Hello. I've been working on some cross-stitch projects. The first one we'll talk about is Louis Armstrong, and that is Stitching Jewel Design, and it's 16 count white Aida, and we're using DMC 310. So that's what it is. So the last time you saw this, I didn't look at the last time picture, so I don't know what it looked like. The last time you saw this, I think I had just either come close to or was almost done finishing a couple of the pages on the side where his trumpet is, and was getting ready to start page 5, which is on top, which is page 5. Anyway, so that's what it looked like then. Excuse me. Of course, it waited till I started speaking. But here's where it looks. Here's what it looks like now. What I've done is page 5 or page 4 and page 5. I've just done them both in the strip up the top there. So if you look at that strip that's pointing out, that's the bottom of page 4 and page 5. So and then it's also as far over as you can go with page 5. So that's as far as it's going to go, and it's hard to see right now, but that's part of his cheek and part of his face. There's a couple more strips and you'll start to see his nose and then his eyes and what have you. But instead of doing one page at a time, because it doesn't really go over very far, it's less than 40 spaces. So like it's literally less than 40 spaces. I just keep going over to finish that out. The ear might push it out a little bit more, but either way, so that's where that is. And I don't know when I'm going to be done with it, because honestly, I've taken a break from cross stitch and I haven't touched it in like a week and a half, maybe more. I don't feel bad, don't feel good. It just happened. Anyway, but still, I'm kind of keen to get back on it because I want it done, because I want it on a wall somewhere. So I will get back to that one. Anyway, so that's where I am on Louis Armstrong. The next one that I'm working on, and I'm trying to speak slowly because Amy's moving things around and she likes to hold up the one that I'm talking about. The kicker is that you never see it. But at any rate, the next one that I'm talking about is Unexpected Visitors. The designer for that is Night Spirit Studio, and that's an Etsy shop. A 16 count clay Ada, and we thought we were using the called for flosses, but Amy asked me what white I was using one night, and I said, what did I say, 5,100 or 52,000 or something?
Yeah,
Okay.
B5200.
Yeah, so instead of using regular white, I'm using bright white. So I don't know what that means, but I like my snow bright white. I don't know about you guys, but I'm fine with that. Anyway.
You don't want it brown or yellow.
No. That's all we need to say about that. Okay, so what the last time you saw it, I needed to finish page 2, right? So it's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I did. Well, here's it is now, so you can see that I actually did finish page 2. And that is about half of, it's not actually half of the project. The bottom half is actually, it represents a little over 70% of the stitching that needs to be done for this. So even though the top half is completely done, I'm still less than 50% of the way done with the stitching that needs to be done on this, but that's okay. At least the spaceships and the ray beams are out there right now. So all I got to do now is fill in what some call carnage, others call homes. I'll fill those in, and we'll go from there. Okay, so now what else? Okay, so that's it on that one. I'm trying to figure out what else. Oh, the contest. So yeah, we decided we'd go ahead and give away one of the Frogman action figures. So Amy may give some more deals on this, but basically just use the word Frogman in your comments, and you'll be eligible. Again, Amy will have more details on this when I stop talking, but that's where we are on that one. Anyway, and also the action figure is a Superman action figure, and I may have mentioned this before, but McFarlane has the license for DC multiverse figures and has lost the license for whatever reason that happens in the industry, and he won't be able to produce any new figures after 2026. And this one is probably the last new Superman based off a brand new version of Superman that he'll be able to create unless they get the license back sometime in the future. But until then, he might make another one of this figure, but this is the last new Superman figure that he can make, and he's made a lot of Batman and a lot of Superman figures. So I wanted to get that. Plus, it comes with his dog Crypto. So I'm going to try to recreate him jumping on his chest and then dragging him across the snow. I don't know if I can, but I'll see what I can do. Anyway, so yeah, that's the action figure, and obviously the one standing in front of it is Frogman. So that's just so we have a reference to what it gets. Oh, the last thing on Frogman. It's a Marvel Legends figure, and it'll come with a couple of, they call them Build-A-Figure parts. Do whatever you want with those. You can find something creative to do with them. That'd be great. Anyway, just wanted to give you the heads up. So that's all I have to say for the rest of the video.
Oh, my goodness. I hope that's not all you have to say. So as far as the contest or giveaway rules, it's the standard rules that apply. As Gary said, the word, if you'd like to enter to win, is Frogman. That's going to be one word, not two. So frog and man, smash them together. And that's what you'll want to do. We do need you to be over 18 so we can ask for your address legally. Please don't say giveaway or prize or anything like that in the comments. That would attract bots or trolls. If you do, we will delete the comment just because we want this to go to a stitcher who's interested in having their own, shall we say, talisman against frogging, although it doesn't seem like it works in our house, but maybe it'll work for you. So yeah, I think that's it. Oh, please also, we would prefer it if you'd be a subscriber to the channel in order to enter the contest, or the giveaway. So I think that's it for that one. And yeah, we hope that you guys enjoy the opportunity to have your own Frogman to keep you company while you stitch. All right, so the next whip that I'm gonna show you is my sampler. So I have been working on Brick House Sampler by With Thy Needle and Thread. I'm stitching this on a piece of 40 count Abecedarian linen by R&R Reproductions. I'm using mostly called for flosses, but I have made some substitutions to make my birds a little bit more blue because they look blue in the mock-up photo. And then also because my Oscar and my Olive, which are the called for greens, were the ones I had in stash were too similar, and so I switched one of them out for something that was going to contrast a little bit more. I am stitching this as a stitch along with my friend Sarah. She is Stitch Addict on Instagram, and then also with Chasing Alex. So keep an eye on their progress. I know Sarah was, the last time she had worked on this, was really close to a finish. So the last time that you saw this on our channel, I had finished stitching the house in the center, and I had started carrying the vine that runs across the bottom of the design across. I wasn't all the way to the far right side of the design, but I was pretty close. And then I had also started working, I had completely finished the left-hand side of the design, and I had started working on some of the elements that are mirroring on the right-hand side. So I had started outlining the, I guess we'll call it a flower box or a raised bed, and then the branches, the branch or the tree where the bird is sitting. So here's where I got to this time. I finally had a decent rotation at home on this and made some pretty decent progress on it. Let me just move this over there. I think that's a little bit better. So as you can see, a couple good milestones on this. I've now completely finished this flowered vine along the bottom of the design. I've also completely finished this here. So the flower box is done, the bird, all the branches and flowers here. I've carried the grass further over. I've worked on more of the letters, and I've started the tree that mirrors this tree. And then finally, I finally got to stitch in my summer dog. So one of the things that I did to customize this piece for me was that there are 3 dogs in the design, and all of them are supposed to look mostly like the summer dog over here. And I have converted them so that each of the dogs looks like one of our dogs. So on the far left, we have Sophie with her little white chest and her pink collar. Here we've got Bear with his blue collar and his pointy ears. And now we have Summer. And the color that this was charted in actually matched Summer's coat really well. So I kept that, but I did give her a little bit of a white mark on her chest because she's got white markings on her chest. And then I stitched in her with a blue collar. So I'm really excited about this. I think I have less than 1,000 stitches to go. So this is another project that will be a finish the next time it comes up in rotation. And this has been a real joy to stitch. I am looking forward to getting it finished because I'm very excited about the next piece that I have planned for this part of my rotation. But this has been a lot of fun to work on. So that is where I am on the Brick House Sampler. Okay, for the next whip, I am going to show you my wildcard project. So I am stitching Cabin Fever. This is a Dimensions Gold Collection kit, and I am using the kit fabric and floss. So the last time you saw this, I had finished finally all of the stitching on the left-hand side of the project. So page 1 of the chart was done, completely done, except for the back stitch and French knots. And then I had stitched a pretty good chunk of the reflection of the cabin on the bottom of the design in the pond, as well as more of the grass and the pathway that's running down to the water on the right-hand side of the cabin. So here's where I got to this time. A respectable but not a typical amount of stitching for this project. So this was the project I took with me to Senegal for my business trip, and it was a busy week, and so I did not get a ton of stitching time on it, which is to be expected. But you can see I did carry more of the stitching down below kind of the roof line here as far as the reflection in the water of the trees above the cabin. Also stitched down more of this kind of central section of the cabin, as well as finally got over here in these trees and kind of carried more of this landscaping and pathway down toward the water. So that's kind of where I focused my efforts. I also managed to get in a little bit more backstitch, so I filled in more of the backstitch in this part of the cabin as well as on the birdhouse. And then there's a rocking chair or an Adirondack chair that sits on the front porch of this cabin, and it's all backstitch, and it's just kind of rough, but you get the idea, and it's really cool. So that went in. It's one of those elements that I've been kind of looking forward to stitching, and so I'm glad to have that in. So this is really coming on now. It is currently sitting at 90% complete. So this is another project that we are closing in on the finish, probably another 2-ish rotations, and this one should also be done and dusted. So coming along well, and this is such a beautiful design. All right. Next, I will show you my monthly morning stitch for August. So this project, I am stitching Romantic Dreams by Stitch Witch Cat, which is an Etsy shop. And this project I'm stitching, it is a full coverage that I'm stitching on a piece of 28 count white easy grid Lugana 2/1 using a combination of half stitch and continental stitch. The last time you saw this, it was at Brand New Start. So I started it in February as my monthly morning stitch for that month. And so it got its second month of the year in August. And when you saw it last, because it was a brand new start, I had just started up in the top left-hand corner, which is where I always start. And you could see a lot of brown background with some red, or it's not red, some pink roses coming in. So here's where I got to in August. I managed to put in about 1,500 stitches, and this project is now 2.8% complete. So respectable for a monthly morning stitch, not a ton, but as you can see, I carried this down more and got more of kind of some of these elements that are going to come in later on down here, as well as more of the pink roses that form up that corner section of the background. So that's how that's coming on, and this one will now go away for the rest of the year and will come out again in February of next year. So that is that project. I do want to say I've had a couple of you recently who have asked me about the half stitch continental stitch, and that is one of the most common questions that we get on this channel. Basically, what that means is the way that I do it is every other row I go back and forth. So if row 1 is half stitches going all the way across like a normal half stitch from left to right, then the next row down I will stitch as the continental stitch, which looks exactly like a half stitch, but instead of moving left to right, you're moving right to left. And what it does is that it helps to create even tension. As many of you have seen on my rose trellis in, I was using a different kind of stitching technique when I first started that project 6 years ago, and it has led to some warping that I'm really hoping that I can block out before it is finally finished or fully finished. And so I've since changed my technique to do this combination of half stitch and continental stitch, and that seems to be much better in terms of preventing warping. So hopefully that helps to answer that question. But for those of you that have asked that question recently, please feel free to let me know in the comment section if you have other questions.
Easing tension sounds like a Starbucks drink.
It does. That has like dragon fruit and something else in it.
Yeah, cream.
Cream. That's not going to ease tension. Anyway, okay, the next stitch I'm going to show you is my weekend stitch. I am stitching Butterfly Port Mauve by Heaven and Earth Designs, also on 28 count white easy grid Lugana, also using my combination of half stitch and continental stitch. And this project, I have made about 2,000 stitches of progress since the last time you saw it. So last time I had finished stitching, there's a spray of like violets, and I had finished stitching the top violet, which is like this beautiful purple color, and then had started working on some of the green leaves that are in the section below that. So let's see here. So here's where this is right now. So as I said, I made about 2,000 stitches of progress. As you can see, a lot of that progress is background. Frankly, as many of you know, a lot of this first column of stitching is background, and we're just getting the hint of the elements that are going to be much more central to the design as we move to the right. But stitched a lot of background here, stitched more of the leaves in here, and then there's another kind of big violet flower here that is slowly but surely coming in. So this is starting to come together. I'm behind on my pace. I try and get about 1,000 stitches a month on this, and I'm just with all of the travel and the busyness this year, I'm a little behind on my pace. So I am planning to do some makeup stitches later this year so I can make sure I get my full 12,000 stitches of progress before the end of the year. But I'm not too far behind pace, so that should be fairly manageable as long as I don't fall too much farther behind with the travel I have through the end of the year. At any rate, this is where we are on this, and it's continuing to come along. This is now at just over 15% complete. All right, that's Butterfly Port Mauve. Okay, and then the last whip I have to show you is my Fancy Lady. So I am working on County Fair by Lavender and Lace, and I'm stitching this on a piece of 32 count Oaken Belfast linen by Picture This Plus, using all the called for DMC flosses. And I'm sorry, I've been working on this week. I'm going to be continuing to work on it today, so it is still in the Q snap. So the last time you saw this, oh goodness, where was I the last time you saw this? I think I was pretty close to finishing the woman's hat. I had been working down in the kind of the garlands that have different fruit and vegetable elements in them on either side of the design. And I had been, working my way down from the top. I had also kind of stitched a good bit of her sleeve and the top of her pinafore or apron. So here's where she is right now. So this looks like a ton of progress. This is actually about 1.5, almost 2 full rotations on her. So bear that in mind when you realize when you see how much further along she is. But as you can see, I'm now really working on the fill-in on all of this wonderful produce and bounty that is sitting on this table that's at the county fair that she's, I think, selling. Have also stitched in a fair bit more on this side, including this hanging, I believe it's like a hanging garlic thing, like, those chains of garlic. I think it's one of those. As you can see, I have now finished stitching in her hair and her face, and I did her skin 2/1 with half stitch. So she's looking really good there. Have done the back stitch on the top of her pinafore, finished filling in that bodice section, as well as have finished off the stitching in her sleeves. I've done one of her 2 hands, and that is also 2/1 half stitch, and have started filling in a little bit of her beautiful red and green plaid shawl. So she's really starting to come along. I'm almost down to the halfway point, and have almost finished the top of the design off. So we're getting out of the section slowly but surely that these garland sections are a ton of confetti. But when you get to the bottom of the design, it's mostly her pinafore and her skirt. So those things are, that's probably going to be a little bit faster stitching just because it's big blocks of color. But I think she's really beautiful. She's coming along so nicely, and I'm looking forward to adding her to my dining room display because, as I said, it's traditional autumn colors with pops of blue. And so she's just going to fit in beautifully in that display. So that is County Fair. All right, the last thing I have to show you is a brand new start. And as I had mentioned earlier in the video, I did, because I finished my gift stitch while I was traveling on my last trip, I started the next ornament that I am gifting away this Christmas. And this is for my nephew, Callan. or our nephew Callan, I should say. So I am stitching, I'm back to the Woodland Holiday set chart pack from Leela's studio. As I have with all the other ornaments that I've stitched from her series, I am stitching this on a piece of 36 count Mocha Edinburgh linen by Zweigert and using all the called for DMC flosses. So I am stitching the truck out of the Woodland Holiday set of charts, and here's where I am on it. So already quite far along on this, and should not have far to go to finish it. So you can see I've got quite a few of these evergreen trees that are scattered across the design. I've got the Christmas tree. I've got most of the bear stitched in up here, and I've got to start on the truck. And then I have also started stitching in his name 1/1. So yeah, I would say this one, I expect this one will also be a finish the next time we come to you with an update. One thing I should mention quickly as I'm wrapping up and talking about the stitching is I have, just because I was farther behind on getting my gift stitching done, my Christmas gift stitching done than I wanted to be, I decided to skip the project that I would normally do as my monthly morning stitch in September, and I've also been working on my gift stitches in the mornings rather than that project. So that's also part of why I've got some pretty good progress on those gift stitches, is just because I've been putting a lot more focus into them rather than my normal monthly morning stitch, because I really wanted to make sure those got finished in time for Christmas, and I didn't want to be stuck with a whole lot of fully finishing to do right up at the end as we get closer to Christmas, and then it gets really stressful. So that's that. Okay, so I am gonna switch gears a little bit. I'm gonna share with you what we are gonna be working on over the next couple of weeks. And then that will be it for the stitching. Those of you that want to stick around and hear about my most recent trip, I'll share a little bit about that. But as far as stitching plans are concerned, as I mentioned, I'm going to spend one more day working on County Fair, so I'll see how much farther I can take her. And then I am going to be moving on and working on Rose Trellis Inn. And this one, I'm actually, just because I have a 5-week rotation, I don't get to touch every project for a full week every month. And in order to finish Rose Trellis Inn before the end of the year, I need to have a full week every month. So I've been kind of playing with my rotation a little bit the last couple of months to make sure that Rose Trellis Inn gets a full week every month. And I'm also trying to make sure that I'm planning so that based on what our schedule is and what life looks like, that I'm putting that during a week when I can maximize my stitching time on it. So I'm trying to do it if there's a week where we don't have a lot of personal life activities. So just kind of looking at the calendar for the next month or so, the best thing for me to do, I'm actually gonna work on Rose Trellis Inn for 2 solid weeks, 2 in a row rather than splitting it up, which I have never done before, but that will cover both my, what?
You're really pushing the envelope there.
I'm getting wild.
Yeah. Woo-hoo. Sorry.
Break it out of the box. No,
Please don't drink and stitch.
Oh.
That never works out.
No, it never does. Never does.
Sorry.
It's okay. So anyway, I'm going to spend 2 weeks on that. So we may have another little bit longer of a gap between now and when we film again, just because there won't be as much variety. And then we also have our annual vacation. We're going to Montreal in October. And so it may be a few weeks again before we get back to you, just to make sure we have enough to share with you that would be interesting. We'll see. At any rate, I'm going to spend 2 weeks working on Rose Trellis Inn. And then I am, of course, going to continue working on my monthly morning, my Christmas gift stitching. Gary's going to plug on with Louis Armstrong and Unexpected Visitors. I'll be doing my weekend stitch, Butterfly Port Mauve. And then I'll have to see what comes up after I finish my Rose Trellis Inn rotation. I'm not sure whether it'll be my seasonal stitch or back to my sampler. So I'll have to look at the calendar and see. Anyway, that is stitching plans for the next several weeks. So looking forward to those. And then, so now I'm going to actually just take a few minutes and tell you a little bit about this last trip that I went on. So those of you that are only interested in stitching, thanks so much for hanging out today. Thanks for your time and for being friends of this channel and friends of Gary and I, or Gary and me. Anyway, us. And those of you that are sticking around, thanks for your interest in the work that I'm doing. So as I've mentioned throughout the video, I did spend about a week in Senegal for work, and it was a good trip. It was incredibly busy. So every year over Labor Day weekend, the US's Labor Day weekend, there falls it's like a major event, the major event of the year in African agriculture. And it's such a major event that my organization sends a really huge delegation every year. And this year was our largest delegation by far. There were about 30 of us that went, and so it was a really big deal. It's, it's like heads of state and ministers, not like religious ministers, but like heads of ministries and parliamentarians, as well as like major organizations. It's a really big deal. And so it was a very busy week, lots of meetings, lots of, sessions at the summit that we were at. And all of that went really well. It was really cool this year because every year they have a different kind of theme for the summit. And this year's theme was really focused around youth and the upcoming generation in Africa. And so one of the things that was really neat was they really brought in a lot of youth to participate in the sessions this year. And it was really great to see them having an opportunity to interact with their leaders and to be sharing about what's important to them and what their needs are. But there were also these wonderful youth artists that were around the campus of the conference center and just kind of working on their art. And so you could go up and you could talk to them. And so I took a few pictures of some of the projects that they were working on, which was really lovely. We were in Dakar during the rainy season, and boy, howdy, was it a rainy season. In the afternoons, we had some pretty wild thunderstorms. In fact, a colleague of mine took a little bit of video from her hotel room because it was just like incredible winds and
the boy howdy kind.
She
It was something.
hot dang.
That's a boy howdy for. All right, I'm gonna stop.
We'll show you video of the very windy, rainy conditions, and it really doesn't do justice to how windy and rainy it was, but it'll give you a sense.
But boy howdy does.
Boy howdy.
All right.
Are you done?
Yeah, I'm trying.
Oh man. Anyway, we ended up having like flooding in the streets and like people trying to hop through. It was pretty crazy. I had a meeting I was supposed to go to, and I kept trying to leave the hotel, and every time I like would walk to the entrance of the hotel, I was just like, nope, I am not going out in that. So anyway, that was that. A couple really cool things that we did that were not really work related per se while I was there. We did go into Dakar because the conference center is actually about an hour outside of Dakar. But we went into Dakar one night. Every year our delegation does like a group dinner, and it's just a really great team building event. And we try and go someplace kind of special. And so one night, the night that we went into Dakar for dinner, we went along the coast, and I'll tell you a little bit more about where we went. But on the way there, we had to pass, there's this really amazing monument. And I hadn't seen this when I was in Dakar earlier this year, so I was really excited to see it this time. I didn't get to actually visit it, so my pictures of it don't give you the full sense and scope of it, but it's the African Renaissance Monument. It is amazing. Please Google it. It's such an amazing monument. It overlooks the Atlantic Ocean. So just to give you a sense of the scale, it's 52 meters high, which for those of us in the US is 171 feet tall. It was completed in 2010, and it's a beautiful sculpture of a man, woman, and child. And it's intended as like a symbol of Africa's arrival in the new millennium, in the 21st century, Africa kind of taking its destiny in its own hands. And it's just a beautiful piece of art. So it was really neat to kind of get a chance to see that from a distance, even though I didn't have time to visit it. And then as far as our dinner that night, it was so cool. There's this lighthouse on top of a cliff, and then there's a restaurant that's just at the base of the lighthouse. And so we went to have dinner at this like lighthouse restaurant. It's a working lighthouse, and so it was just really beautiful. I took a lot of pictures. I had lobster for dinner, which was really nice. And one of the things that was really fun at this restaurant is they do live music, which was normally I'm not like live music, I could take it or leave it, but I really loved the performance that they did because it was music and dance that showcased hit songs from every decade starting from the 1940s. And they had era appropriate costumes. So it was really fun because you had some like the Jackson 5 from the 60s and 70s. You had some Michael Jackson in there. You had some of those classic songs that you hear from the 1940s, from the World War II era, like the swing stuff. They had some Elvis. Anyway, and of course, like I said, costumes and dance. It was really fun. It was such a good time. And yeah, we thoroughly enjoyed the evening. So hopefully you enjoy seeing some of the pictures and maybe some video from those performances and from that event, because it was really neat. So all that being said, I think that wraps it up for us today. Thank you again for spending time with us. Thanks for your patience with the gaps between our videos. We are trying to get back to a normal every 2-week posting schedule, but life is just kind of making that challenging. And at some point in time, we will get back to that. We're going to post as frequently and as regularly as we can. So if you enjoy our videos, please do give us a thumbs up so that we can reach more people on YouTube. Please do feel free to leave a comment. We do read all of your comments, and we try and respond to all of them, at least with a heart, if not with an actual reply. You can follow me on Instagram between videos. I'm globetrotting_stitcher, and you're welcome to reach out to us over email. We're globetrottingstitcher@gmail.com. So with that, we hope that you're well. We hope that that you decide to enter the Frogman giveaway, and that you're enjoying all of your stitching. And we will look forward to seeing you very soon. Happy stitching and take care. Bye-bye, guys.
Boy, howdy ones for everyone.
Stop it.
Just the one.
You're in trouble.